Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we'll be taking a look and installing the Solera Slide Topper on a 2021 Forest River Cedar Creek. Now this is available for all three slide outs and also in black and white. Slide toppers are an awesome added benefit to your camper, and the reason being is this is actually going to protect leaves, debris, and standing water from accumulating on your slide. And that way when you're ready to pack it up and hit the road, you're not going to damage your seals. And it's also going to keep that standing water from becoming mold, because once you have mold growth, it's really hard to get rid of. Now another added benefit is this is going to protect a little bit of heat, and it's going to keep the inside of your camper slightly cooler. As you can see, it's going to protect this whole area. And so if you get caught in a windstorm while camping or a rainstorm or whatever it may be, you don't want anything built up on here, because as this goes back to slide in, these seals are going to have to deal with that. So if it's a stick or a leaf or anything, that's going to get jammed in here. Also, with that mold buildup, as this slides in, you're bringing mold inside of your camper. Now this is made out of a thick vinyl, and so overall it's extremely durable. It's going to hold up during extreme hot and cold weather and keep your camper slide top nice and protected for a long time. You can see our slide topper canopy extends past our slide here, and that's going to be awesome for added protection. So as the rain comes down here, you still have a lot of space, so that rain won't accumulate up on top, even in a hard downpour. When determining which slide topper is going to work best for your RV, you're going to want to measure it from the outside edge of your T-molding to the other edge on the outside. And with that number, you can head on over to eTrailer and determine which one matches your measurements. Now when measuring, you're also going to want to take into account any obstructions that you might have already previously installed on your camper. So you need to make sure from the outside of your T molding here that you have 7 inches of clearance. Otherwise, you're going to need to go a step down, as we had to here. Because we have our power awning, that 7-inch overhang wouldn't allow us to install this. Now the installation process is pretty simple here. The hardest part is honestly the fact that it's pretty long. So I suggest maybe pulling a few neighbors aside and having them help and bring a ladder while you're there. Now you're gonna want a longer tall ladder on both ends and maybe another small step ladder so you can feed that up. But other than that, the installation's pretty simple, and I'm gonna walk you through it. To begin the installation, you're going to want to make sure that you have an extrusion rail already mounted up. And if you don't, the kit actually comes with one. And as far as mounting it up, it's pretty straightforward. And we do have videos here on eTrailer's website. So if you need to see how to put the extrusion rail on, we got you covered. Next, we're going to grab our brackets that are in the kit. You're going to see there is a flat side on the back. And what we're going to be doing is be placing butyl tape along here. Now, if you don't have butyl tape, we have this here at eTrailer, and there's a few different styles. We have the wider one here that we're going to be putting on. There's also a thinner one. But the main thing that you're going to be wanting to do is cover it end to end and make sure that these holes are covered in butyl. So I'm going to go ahead and get ours spaced out here. Make a nice little cut. And if you have a little excess off the end, that's no big deal. We're going to go ahead and do that on the same, on the bracket here. So now we're going to be placing our brackets in place. Now you're going to see there's a flat side here, and this part actually angles down. We're going to want this flat side facing up. And what we're going to be doing is putting this as far up as we can and as far over. So you can see this is where it's going to go. So we'll simply peel off this backing tape. And follow this line. And then press. Now while I'm up here, I also have my flat top screws here. And so we're gonna mount these in place, and it's fine. You're gonna have a little bit of butyl kind of squeeze out, and that's okay. That butyl's an important step. It's gonna create a nice watertight seal and not have rust build up over time. So make sure you have butyl. Don't skip that step. We'll go ahead and put the other 4 screws, and then we're going to repeat that process on the other side. Now with both of our brackets in place, you're gonna wanna grab a pair of needle nose pliers. And this extrusion rail is where we're gonna be sliding in part of our awning here. So we're gonna wanna open this up to allow it to be able to slid in a little bit better and also not catch on the canvas as we do it. So grab a slight end bite there and just kind of bend that down. You're gonna wanna open this up. You can also grab the top a little bit. Now you're gonna want to plan this out the way that you feed it based on if you have anything on each side. Now this side is nice and open. Our other side has a light that can get in the way that's right here. So we chose this side. We're gonna wanna open that up and we'll be able to slide that in. So now we're gonna grab our hex shaft here and you're gonna see there's a hole and we're gonna put this in the bracket here. We also have our plastic cap and you're also gonna notice this opening. You're gonna want that to slide right in place to where the hole is all lining up. So you can look down and see that it's all open. So next we're gonna take our Phillips here. This is a self-tapper. So just kind of feed that in just a little bit so you know that it's at least sitting straight. And then you can go ahead and tighten this in. Now we can go ahead and repeat that same process on the other side. So now's a good time to get a few friends or an extra set of hands, and you're also gonna want a few ladders here. And what we're gonna be doing is sliding this in place. Now as we do this, these arms have LCI. You're gonna want those facing out and also facing up, you'll see. Also, we have these brackets. So the people on these ladders here, you might wanna have these handy, and that way we can kind of slide it into place. So you're gonna wanna have just a little bit of this flap hanging out, and this is how we're gonna feed it into that extrusion rail. So as the person feeding it, make sure it doesn't catch on that. So with that slid in, we'll simply feed this down to the next person. So with this LCI facing out and this bracket facing up, you can now slide this little bracket here on, and then you can put it in this channel. So I'm gonna actually slide it on this top one here. And now it should be holding in place. Now I'll be putting our grub screws in here, and that's gonna keep this bracket in place. Now, after you do your install, if you realize that your canopy is actually rubbing on your T-molding when it's extended, you can actually move this bracket up as there's two height settings. Currently we have it on the lower one, but there's also two slots here that you can raise this up to gain a little bit more clearance. Now with those two in place, we'll repeat that process on the other side. Now at this point, we can still move our canopy kind of side to side because we have those hex bars that are in those brackets. Now it does look a little odd here. It's kind of an optical illusion. As you see, the roof line actually kind of curves up. So it may look a little bit crooked, but the main thing is that it is actually parallel with the bottom trim of the slide out. So I have it all centered up. Now we're going to be running our self-tapping screws in here, but before we do that, this bracket, as you can see, there's a little bit of play. So you're really going to want this to be facing parallel to the face of the camper before putting it in place. And that's really going to make this nice and flat against it, and it should help a little bit. Now don't get too crazy on these self-tappers. You're actually going to want to just feather these in. Okay. So now we'll go ahead and repeat that process on the other side. Now we have our spring lock clips here, and we're going to want to take those out, and you're going to have to put a little bit of tension here, and when you do pull those out, just kind of be fragile rolling it back. You don't want it to unravel. Now keep these in a safe place, because if you ever want to take this down, you're going to want to put those back, and it's going to keep it from winding up here. So pretty simple. You just kind of give it a peel back here, pull on this bottom portion, and that should come out like that, and then slightly put it in place. We'll go ahead and do that same process on the other side. So now we're going to extend our slide on the camper out, and we're going to be looking for wrinkles. We don't want anything to bind up, or we want it nice and smooth overall. Now there may be some minor ones, but we might be able to iron some of those out. So first, we'll get this extended. Overall, it's looking pretty good extended. Now I'm going to retract it back and have someone watch to see if there's any wrinkles forming and where they actually are. Here you can see the wrinkles actually facing towards me here. So what I'm gonna do is simply roll this back just a little bit, and we're gonna push this just a little bit over and see if that kind of takes some of those out. So you may have to retract and extend the slides a few times to really get these ironed out. And in that process, with the way that the wrinkle faces, you're gonna wanna take that part and slide it in the extrusion in a little bit. And doing it a few times, you're really gonna start to see it change with just very little movement. Now, you may not be able to get all of them out, and it's really what you're okay with living with, but overall, this looks pretty good. So once we have it in place, we're gonna take our black self-tapping screws, and we're gonna be drilling in about 1 inch in from the end of the canvas here on this little bracket here. Now it's gonna sit in this groove and kind of go down, which is gonna screw into this little tubing here, which is gonna hold that canvas in place. Now be careful on this step, because if you slip, that screw could puncture your canvas, so I keep my finger there just for a little added protection. Now you can simply repeat this process for your other slide outs. And that was a look at the Solera RV Slide Topper on a 2021 Forest River Cedar Creek. Thanks for watching.